This week's question of the week deals with sandbaggers in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So, recent controversy has come up and a question got thrown to me on my thoughts on an Olympic wrestling gold medalist entering the IBJJF World No-Gi Championship as a blue belt competitor. And what are my thoughts? Do I think this person is a sandbagger? So, I'm al-Aziz, the owner and head instructor of Semper Fortis Jiu Jitsu here in San Antonio, Texas. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on this. So, my answer is no, they are not a sandbagger. Because in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, you don't get to promote yourself. So, this athlete, this competitor, their Brazilian Jiu Jitsu coach has evaluated their skills and says, hey, your skills in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, you're a blue belt level. So don't take anything away from this athlete who's competing. They're competing at their appropriate belt rank in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And why I think this is a good learning moment for all of us is just because the art that you are an expert in is similar to another martial art. And wrestling is very much a martial art that I hold in high regard. Being an expert in one martial art does not make you an expert in another martial art. So if you're a black belt, for instance, say in Taekwondo, which is a striking, kicking martial art, that does not make you a black belt in karate, in kung fu, in tang sudo, in other, or savate. It doesn't make you a black belt in those martial arts too. You have to learn those different styles if you in fact want to be a black belt in those different styles. Even if, let's say, this black belt in, we'll say karate, went to a school and sparred and fought these black belts in Taekwondo and black belts in Kung Fu and black belts in savate and in Tang Sudo and beat them all and is better than all of them, using their martial art against these other martial arts. It still doesn't make you a black belt in those other martial arts. It just means you're a really good fighter in your martial art. Your skill level in your martial art enabled you to overcome similar martial arts in skill levels that are higher than your belt rank in that martial art is. For instance, there was photos of like Khabib. I'm not going to try to say his last name because I will get it totally wrong. But he was a UFC champion, but he was also Sambo champion, also a Judo black belt, and had wrestled all of his life. But there was a photo of him a few years ago, wearing a white belt in a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu class. And people were like, oh, he's a sandbagger. No, he's not a sandbagger. He's wearing the appropriate belt for the skill that he has in that art. Now, if Khabib came into my school and rolled with me, he would probably get the better of me. I acknowledge that. But that doesn't mean he's an expert in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. It just means that, he's able to use his skill in his martial art that he is an expert in and overcome me in my skill level in the martial art that I'm an expert in. So like we have a judo program here at Semper Fortis. And if I do judo class, I take my black belt off and I put a white belt because I'm a white belt in judo. Doesn't matter that I know judo takedowns. Doesn't matter that, I'm really good at judo. I think they call it nuwaza, the ground fighting. Doesn't matter. I'm a white belt in judo. And, I have several judo black belts in here who are phenomenal competitors in judo, phenomenal fighters, and phenomenal on the ground. And they all started as white belts and, now they're blue belts. But as blue belts, they're probably better on the ground than any of my other blue belts. But their skill level in knowing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is not high enough to be a purple belt. Even if they can, beat purple belts on the ground. They still don't know Brazilian Jiu Jitsu at that level. And you're going to go some places that are going to be like, don't care. You know, like, I'm going to award them a belt just because they're really good at fighting, or they're really good at, you know, using their art against our art, and they're better. And so I'm just going to promote them. Like, I remember years ago, super collegiate wrestler, 2-time NCAA champion at Michigan State, Rashad Evans, won the UFC title, and his instructor promoted him to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt in the cage. I was like, okay. I don't think in Rashad's entire MMA career did he ever do a submission. Don't think he knew Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, but his instructor thought, oh, you know, he's a really good fighter. Gonna give him a black belt. I disagree with that, but hey, I'm not that instructor, and that's the way they run their school. So I don't think this Olympic wrestler, this gold medalist, is they're definitely not wrong. They're doing what is appropriate. They're a blue belt. They love to compete, and they're gonna go compete. And if you want to be the blue belt world champion this year, you're gonna have to beat that gold medalist, and you should treat that as an honor. Step on the mat with that Olympic gold medalist, and you know, who's also a blue belt just like you are. Give them their best, give them your best, and beat them. And then you can tell everybody, hey, I'm the blue belt world champion, and I had to beat a wrestling Olympic gold medalist to get it. And you should be rightfully proud of yourself. So, you know, if you want to be the best in the world, you have to beat the best in the world. So I think a few years ago at the ADCCs, people were talking about, you know, there was a blue belt that entered as a no-gi, into the no-gi part. But I think it was Nicky Rodriguez, and he defeated Cyborg Abreu, and who is not only a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt, but a world champion Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt, legendary. But Nicky, as a blue belt, was able to defeat him using what he knew of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu combined with his wrestling experience. Phenomenal fighter. He was able to overcome it. But his instructor still didn't promote him to black belt after that, you know, even though he did phenomenal in that tournament, because his instructor wanted him to learn Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and that's a process. So it's not something you're going to learn really quick, although you might get really good at it really fast. So I say enjoy the journey, and don't diminish people's accomplishments. Like, if this person wins the blue belt no-gi world championship, don't try to diminish their accomplishments talking about they're a sandbagger, because they don't get to promote themselves. The person entered the appropriate division that they were supposed to be in based on their skills in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and maybe they win. I'll cheer for them, because I love seeing other arts enter Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, train with us, make us better, and we'll all grow from that. But don't be the person in the corner that's like, oh, you know, they sandbagged. No, they didn't sandbag. People don't get to promote themselves. Matter of fact, we say bad things about people that promote themselves. You know, in no art, you know, does anybody get to put their own belt on and be like, well, you know, I think I'm a black belt. Well, no, I disagree. So that's my answer to this week's question of the week. If you got a question for next week, any insights, comment below. By the time I release this video, the results may already be out, and we'll know if this person was able to win the blue belt no-gi worlds. Hope they do. Wish them the best. All right. Till next week. Ciao.